Hi, everybody. Tim Lautzenheiser here. Glad you're back and glad you're with us at Backstage. And again, to all you newcomers, welcome. Your family members now, got to keep coming back. We have a really special guest today. Well, we always have special guests, but some of them are really my very special friends, and this is one of them. Dr. Suhan has an illustrious career as a high school orchestra director and knocked out his doctorate degree at Michigan State, and he's now director of orchestras at Baldwin Wallace Conservatory in Cleveland. So he's over there, and we're going to say hi to him now. Sue, how are you doing, my friend?
Dr. Tim, always good to see you and an honor to be here today.
Really nice tie you've got on there, friend.
Yes, I love to tell this story, and the tie that you have looks very familiar too. This is a very lucky tie that somebody very special gave to me one day. Where were we, Dr. Tim? I think it was at Midwest board meeting.
Midwest board meeting, yes, sir.
I forgot to pack everything but a tie, so I sent out an SOS to all the gentlemen in attendance. I said, "Who's got a tie?" And then you were good enough to let me borrow this tie and then let me keep this tie. And I want you to know that I wore this tie for every significant interview that I've been at since you given this tie to me. And I've been hired at everything that I've wore this tie to. So it's become my lucky tie. And so thank you. And I will treasure it for the rest of my life. And I think I better get another one because I wear it a lot.
So when I'm looking for a job, I need to get my tie back for the interview, yeah?
Well, maybe I'll let you borrow it. Yeah, we'll see.
And thank you for the one you replaced it with, which looks exactly the same. So tell us a little bit about yourself. You've got such a great career and had such a great history. Talk to us about it.
Okay. Well, let's see. My family and I, we immigrated to this country when I was 10 years old from South Korea. And, our family, we didn't have much at all. My parents, they have an incredible story. I'm convinced that if somebody made a Hollywood film of their life, it would be an incredible story to tell. But not having much, when we came to this country, one way to elevate myself into a better life was through music, and was through being involved in music programs at public schools. And first of all, it was music, but secondary, it was the teachers that have taught me and provided me all these opportunities that I've had in my life. And so when I was graduating from high school, I had this calling and the sense of responsibility to pass it on forward, and what a better way to do that than through becoming a teacher and through being involved in the arts. So I was lucky enough to get into the school of my dreams, Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, where I studied to be a music educator. And after that, not being from Indiana, I thought Indiana was just nothing but just, cornfields and, what's in Indiana? Well, was I wrong? I mean, Indiana has one of the top music school programs in the entire country in public schools. And so I taught at a very small school district on the northwest side of Indiana, Munster, Indiana, which is just right on over the border of Illinois, for a couple of years. Taught at a larger urban school, or more of an urban-like school in Indianapolis, North Central High School, for several years. And then finished my career in the public schools at Carmel High School, which is a gigantic, affluent school community just north of Indianapolis. And it was a dream job. And there are a lot of aspects of teaching at Carmel that I miss. But after having taught there for about 9 years, I wanted to continue to grow as an educator. And also, I knew that my life, I wanted to continue to devote my life to serving others and helping others. But before I do that, I wanted to make sure that I was being honest with myself and taking care of myself as well, so that I can continue to give. And so I took this leap of faith and decided to go back to school and get my doctorate degree in orchestral conducting. And in that process, I met an incredible artist and someone who has changed in every way how I look at teaching and how I listen and how I make music. And that's Maestro Kevin No, who is now at UMKC, but who was at Michigan State at the time. And I know you know Kevin No well as Dr. Tim. And so spent a couple of years finishing my doctorate at Michigan State. And then after that, I was so lucky to be appointed the director of orchestral studies at Baldwin Wallace here in Cleveland. And I feel like the luckiest man in the entire world to be teaching at the school and to be doing what I'm doing. I'm so, so lucky and grateful. So that's kind of my a little bit about me in a nutshell.
Yeah, you were lucky to work with Kevin. He's a remarkable human being.
Yeah, yeah.
Magic. He's magic.
Absolutely.
As are you. So that was a win-win for both of you. I know. Okay, so you got this great job and you're in this posture that you can impact a lot of other people who will impact a lot of other people. Real quickly, content or context, because you said you were lucky to have some great teachers. On a 1 to 10 scale, how important is the music teacher?
The music, the content is important, but I will say, Dr. Tim, especially the more and more I do this, it becomes more about the context, And I think about some of the phenomenal teachers that have impacted me in my life. And this is not a dig on them. And this is, they were amazing. But if I think about, what are the things that what are the content things I learned from my teachers? And I couldn't really pinpoint those things. But if I were to tell you the personal and the human values that these teachers gave me, I can tell you that my third grade English as a second language teacher, Mrs. Cox, taught me about courage, taught me about persistence, taught me about hard work. I can tell you that my middle school band director, Miss Weidman, who is now Miss Shaner, taught me, inspired me through encouragement and again encouraged me and also gave me courage and also gave myself a meaning that hey, I mean something in this world and I have something to offer to this world. And so many countless of other teachers after them, if I were to go back and say, okay, who taught me how to count eighth notes and who taught me, how to, I don't know, play the bass or whatever, I couldn't really tell you, but I could tell you who taught me to be a better person, to how to be a human, and who brought those qualities out in me. And so I would say definitely context more than content.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Thanks. We're taking a left turn on you here a little bit. So we're at a time that's unprecedented in history. Nobody could have written the script on this one, right? Mm-hmm. So what advice do you have for all those teachers out there that are facing an entire new landscape of how to teach, not what to teach, but how to teach what they teach, and even why they need to do it right now? Talk to us.
Yeah. First of all, I want to frame this conversation around saying that in many ways, I feel inadequate to provide these advices because the challenges that our public school and K through 12 teachers face in their environment is astronomical. And I think about some of the challenges that they have, and I pray for them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I admire them and I respect them so much to have to face and overcome the amount of challenges that they have to do. And so having said that, when I'm engaging in conversation with my friends who are K through 12 teachers, one thing that I constantly try to remind them is that they have to reframe their responsibilities this year. I think a lot of my friends and a lot of our colleagues get overwhelmed because they think about how they are going to accomplish everything that they've accomplished when it was face-to-face pre-COVID and they saw students on a daily basis. Oh my gosh, how am I going to have my fall concert? Oh my gosh, how am I going to teach them, all these technical concepts? Oh my gosh, how are we going to do recruiting? Oh my gosh, how are we going to do field trips? Oh my gosh, and all those things. So I think first of all, we have to kind of reframe what is possible and what our responsibilities should be. Maybe you're not going to have concerts this year. That's okay. As you said, who would have, nobody could have scripted this, maybe you're not going to be able to take that trip, or maybe you're not going to have those social gatherings, or maybe you're not going to be able to provide all the musical and the non-musical opportunities that you've typically have provided. And so I guess the easiest way to say this is that teachers, like, we need to give ourselves a break. The teachers need to give themselves a break. Some of my friends, I feel like they're going to have a stroke because they're trying to like maintain and do everything that they've done in the previous years this year. And this is not the same. So reframe what is really important to you. And you kind of teed it up perfectly. And I think about, think more about context than content this year. And that's okay. And because that's when at the end of the day, that's what your students need from you more so. The context, and knowing that you're there for them emotionally and spiritually, and there to encourage them. And the content, you can catch them up. Because if the teachers are anything like my friends, they're amazing pedagogues and they'll figure out a way.
Well, I mean, we both know how important the teacher is in anything, in exchanging the information and passing it along and in communicating. It just
Absolutely.
seems like now it's even more important for those
Absolutely.
students to have something they can hang on to and someone they can hang on to and trust. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Right before I signed on to talk with you, I was watching CNN, and they were talking about how schools in urban settings, especially, they were going out of their way to provide all these, meals and services and equipment to the students, but then that these students would take back these laptops and iPads to their homeless shelters, and then these shelters wouldn't have Wi-Fi,
Mm.
and how they would lose them at that. So, I hear stories like this all the time, and I think about like, gosh, like in the grand scheme of things, really, like, what's the most important thing, that we teach them all the musical skills that we need to teach them, or that we make sure that they're fed, or that they're emotionally supported, and that they have a roof over their head, and that, that the basic human values are met. And the more I think about this, definitely, it's a no-brainer for me. It's more the latter.
Yeah, but your students are lucky to have you as a model, certainly, and not to make you feel good, but I'm just saying, for a student to be around you, college student, or even the influence you have doing all states or whatever that sort of thing is, that what you're modeling is what they need to be, and of course, the student mirrors the teacher all the time. So let me take another left turn on you, because we're thrilled and proud and delighted to have you to be one of our consumer clinicians. How important at this point in time is it for industry and education to lock arms together?
We're not going to make it out of this unless we are locked on in arms together. I can't stress the importance of us joining together, not just industry, but community and other organizations. If we're not linking arms and if we're not supporting one another through this process, then there's no way that we're going to, that our profession can survive out of this. So I am so encouraged and moved by things that are happening that I see, just because, my affiliation with Consumer, I know that we've stepped forward and made an investment on $1 million investment in making sure that we provide instruments to the schools. How incredible is that? And schools and other music industry people coming forward and making their services available, oftentimes free of subscription, while we're going through all this. And teachers being able to sound the alarm and say, hey, I need this or I need that. And then we one another like stepping forward. I myself and my friends, we make daily runs to Costco, just to see that if there's hand sanitizers or wipes that we can borrow or we can buy. And so I have a small stash started in my closet, not for me, but because I know there are going to be teachers around the area who run out of those things. I just know it. And I want to be there to be able to give them and whatever they need, if I have it. And so, unless we tackle this together, we're never going to make it. And Dr. Tim, I have to tell you, I'm again so proud to be a part of the Consumer community. The Consumer Virtual Institute that we held this summer, I mean, it was magnificent. Just seeing the number of educators that came forward and that was giving of themselves to help one another. It's just extraordinary. And so I hope that continues. And I hope that we do even a little bit more for one another.
Yeah, not to put a positive spin to this, but the great Benjamin Franklin phrase, we hang together, we hang separately,
Mm-hmm.
that this has really caused a situation where the synergy of all the components coming together, and it's our likenesses that bring us together, it's our differences that keep us together. This could set the stage for when things do come back, we could even have more engines in
Mm-hmm.
going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I really do believe it, and I'm not being cheesy and cliche, but I do think there are a lot of good things that will come out of this, and what you just said is just one of those things.
Yeah. So for the new teachers that are coming out, this is their first year of teaching, and oh yeah, by the way, what thoughts do you have about for those young people? Because already, I mean, the first year of teaching itself is a steep hill, yeah, for most of us, and you're facing all those challenges to start out with, and now, oh yes, we're going to blindfold you as you're going up this mountain. What thoughts do you have for those youngins?
Oh man. Just the other day, I got a text message from a BW grad who was fortunate enough to land a position at a pretty significant orchestral program out in the West. And he texted me, he's like, "Hey, Dr. Han, I just finished an entire day of in-service. Like, is it normal to feel like I have no idea what I'm doing?" And I said, "Brother, let me tell you, let me tell you about my first days, I remember in Munster when I first taught there, I was so excited about teaching. I was like, oh my gosh. And then the very first time that I went into my office, and how cool is it? I had my own office and my own classroom, and I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm going to be ready. And I too was like drawing a blank. I was like, oh my God, like I'm their teacher now. Like I am responsible for their musical education. Like, what am I supposed to be teaching them? Is there a curriculum? Shouldn't there be a curriculum? So I went to the filing cabinet. I'm like, is there a district curriculum? Like, what do I do? Like, I knew that we had to choose pieces and do concerts and things like that. But I mean, like, aside from the repertoire, like, what am I supposed to be? And I just freaked out, Dr. Tim, and I became paralyzed. And I just like sat there like, I don't know what to do. What I did know was to stack the chairs, put away the music stands, and clean up a little bit. And so that's what I did. Like I just got out of my chair. I was like, well, the room needs cleaning. So I ended up stacking chairs and putting away stands and start mopping the floor. And then through that activity, I found clarity. And I was like, oh wait, you know what? What does your handbook look like now? And maybe your handbook. So through doing those kind of things, I found more urgent and important work to do. So my advice to young beginning teachers, first of all, it's okay if you're freaking out. We all freak out. Second of all, just do something. Just do something. And if that means to go to your classroom and start cleaning out instruments in locker rooms, do that, And through those things, you'll find clarity and you'll be like, oh, wait a minute. There are more important things I should be doing. I should be, working on the handbook, or what maybe I should be putting in bowings, or maybe I should be talking to so-and-so. And so just go and just do something. And it's okay if you don't have all the right answers now. I know you're about to ask about mentorship as well. Yeah. And I can't stress how important that is. I think if young teachers are anything like I was a very like arrogant and cocky young teacher, like, oh, I knew the answers to everything. And so, I didn't want to ask because then maybe people would find out that I don't know anything. And so, I was kind of stubborn at first about reaching out for help. Yeah. Finally, I got over myself and I was like, okay, I need help. And I started talking to people about, hey, what is your tuning process? Hey, what strings do you use? Hey, what rosin should I be using? Hey, what's the cello stop? And then once I started asking questions, the floodgates kind of came open. And so, I try to just ask as many questions as I can. And I was surrounded by so many incredible mentors in my life, and that I'm so grateful to. And so now I try to pass that forward to young teachers too. And Dr. Tim, I don't know that you know this, but I think I've told you this before, but you've had a major role in my life as well. I mean, I'm still to this day a little starstruck when I see you. I'm like, oh my gosh, Dr. Tim wants to like talk with me and have an interview with me. Like, what is that about? And your generosity, and I know that you extend that generosity not just to myself, but to other thousands of teachers out in our profession. And just that little contact that you have with individuals, it just means the world. It meant the world to me. And so I try to do that for other young teachers as well. I mean, I'm no Dr. Tim, please, but in whatever ways that I can, I try to make sure that I make myself available and help the young teachers.
Yeah. Well, a couple things you said. First of all, I think we're all imposters.
Yes.
We get down to it. And the older we get, the more we know. The more we know we don't know, right? But when you said, what should I do? Motivation comes after you do something. When you start cleaning up the room and putting the stands away, and it's like all of a sudden you get motivated to do other things. And I mean, you're the epitome of the way we do anything is the way we do everything. Mm-hmm. So a clean room means better intonation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You, Sue, and you're one of the most positive people I know, and I'm positive in the sense of you're moving forward all the time. You're always doing things, you're always looking out. And this may be a very soft pitch, but how important is somebody's attitude as they take on this teaching highway that they're on?
Boy, if I swing and miss on this one, I'll be ejected out of the game. So I think attitude is everything, right? And you said something earlier in our conversation that the students reflect the teacher. And I believe that wholeheartedly, and I've seen that firsthand. And so it's everything that we do. And I think it's going to be so important this coming year. But I also want to be careful as to say that, like, don't be fake, Right. I think it's also important for us to be vulnerable with our students and with our community and say that, okay, this is challenging, and this is challenging for me, and this is tough, but I think it's so important to follow up that vulnerability and surround that vulnerability with positive energy and hope, because not just for yourself, but your students will pick up on that. Yeah. Your community will pick up on that, and there is a lot of negativity out there, about like, oh, this is impossible, and this is, they don't know what they're doing, and all this other kind of stuff. I think we need to be charitable of one another a lot more this year, and you're very kind to say that I'm a positive person, Dr. Tim, but I have to tell you, the past several months has been tough for me as well, and every single day people ask me, how are you? My generic answer is, well, depends on the day, and sometimes depends on the hour. Right now I feel great because I'm talking to you, Dr. Tim, but who knows how I feel. But I always try to come back to positivity and be hopeful of what is possible, because first of all, that's real, and second of all, it's not just about me, having those positive energy. It's for my students, for my program, for our profession, and for our world.
I think positive a lot of times, it means honest and with forward motion. Yes. And when you said it can't be disingenuous, no, we're going to go forward one or another. So hang on for dear life.
Right. Absolutely.
This was a fast half hour, wasn't it?
It's been half an hour already. Goodness.
If you have any last bit of advice, dearest friend, and I love you and I love what you represent, and certainly in this profession, I would love to clone you and put you in every orchestra room around the world, so that it would be great. But any last words as we head on to this next chapter in our lives that you would have for all the people who are listening to this? And there's a lot of people that listen to Backstage, so dig into your wisdom there. So tell us, what do you think?
The thing that that I'm thinking about is just make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well, of your program. Stay healthy, stay sane, give yourself a break, be gentle on yourself. And I don't know, Dr. Tim, I'm just so happy that you have been such an incredible leader in our profession, as you've always been. And so thank you for all that you've done during this time, and that I know all the things that you will continue to do. But let's just lean on each other, and let's just support one another, and let's just be as positive as we can. I hope that regardless if I know you or not, for anybody that's listening out there, just know that you always have a friend in Cleveland, Ohio. And if there's any string or orchestra related matters that you need help with, I hope that you'll feel comfortable enough to reach out to me, because if I don't know the answer, I bet you I will know somebody who does. Or if not, I'll just send them to Dr. Tim, and he can help you with anything that you want.
Well, to everybody, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and lastly, I love you too, Dr. Tim. And you mean so much to me in my life and to so many of us in our profession.
Well, you're kind. We find in others what we have in ourselves, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And for everybody that's listening, I mean, Dr. Hahn's real deal. And when he says, if you need something, call him, his phone's on 24/7. And you know what? Everybody go, oh, he won't have time. No, the greatest compliment you can ever give somebody is to call and ask for some advice or some thoughts or direction. And he'll be there for you. And like I said, he'll lock arms with you and take you by the hand, and you'll get your answer. Plus, you'll make a lifetime friend forever. Sue, one more question, then I will let you go. Would you come back and see us sometime on Backstage?
Absolutely. Goodness. Yeah. It would be an honor.
We'll count on you to do that. To all of our friends out there, thanks for hanging with us. Sue, thanks for being a phenomenal guest. And to each and every one of you, he's right. We got to stay healthy. We got to stay happy. There's a lot of people counting on us, and the arts have to live on for others. So let the music begin now. Thanks, my dear friend. Blessings.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.